Welcome back to the Dunerider'S Hangar. This is Mike, and today I'm going to show you how to fix your Fanstoys Dune Rider if you have this problem where a wheel breaks off. I did a little bit of looking into it. I got my part from Fanstoys. We're going to see if we can get this thing fixed. Coming up. I want to point out to you some stuff you're going to need for the fix. Now, first of all, you'll need a little screwdriver set, or if you just have small screwdrivers with a Phillips about this size, and whatever you call this really fine point tip. I mean, I don't know what it's called, but that's what I use to knock out the pin, and I use needle nose to pull the pin and to actually clamp it back in. I'm using just a paper towel to put up against surfaces that you're using opposing this kind of stuff so you don't scratch the paint. So remember to be very careful not to scratch the paint. Anytime a piece of metal comes in contact with your toy that's painted, you want something in between it. So make sure you don't have that. And a block of wood, kind of what I would use to, if you're going to maybe tap out, which is what I started. I started by tapping out that piece, and we're going to show you this in here in a little bit. But that is what I would use as something to rest on. You don't want to mess up your concrete. Doing on concrete, you don't want to mess up countertop. You don't want to mess up your review space or anything like that. So I use a block of wood. You can replace a block of wood for next to nothing. So oddly enough, I was just messing around with it and the wheel just literally popped right off. And the problem is that it's held together and by a real thin piece of metal. You can see on this replacement part, it's a very, very thin piece of metal, and that's what holds it together, and that popped off on mine. Now, I had it, I was holding on to it. I don't know where that piece went. Doesn't really make a difference, but it's really a thin piece of metal in here, and that's just like really thin attached to another thin piece of metal, so it's a definite breakage point. So if you haven't broke yours, just remember to be careful with the wheels. They're a very, very thin piece of metal holding it together. Now, when you take it off, you see that there is this piece here also. I was just like, how can I fix this? Well, I couldn't really fix it, so I had to get my replacement part. Now, as you can see, they didn't send me the tire, but they sent me this whole assembly. Now, you're looking at it and saying, okay, did they get me the right one? And as you can see, I got the right one. It's for the right size. Everything's good. So we're going to see what we've got to do to get this guy fixed. Now, if you look at the inside of the leg, you see that there's a screw. Now, this is a good leg, and I'm only showing that because here is the other leg, and I already took the screw out. And it's simple as unscrewing it. But the screw itself is interesting because it's threaded at half of it, if you can see that. It's threaded at half of it, and half of it is smooth so that it continue to work and all that good stuff. So once you have that out of there, you can just simply remove this lower leg piece. But let's semi-transform it. So we got to pull this out. Got to get this piece here. Remove the headlight piece. Fold it out. And then fold that piece out. Now you're going to see you have access to that. Once you've unscrewed it, you can disconnect it. Now you just set this guy apart because everything we're going to do with this repair is going to be on this piece here. Now, looking at this, there's a pin in there, and you have to be able to get the pin down. So I'm going to show you what I did to get the pin down. So here is the pin holding in the assembly, and I simply found out what it was all about because I looked and just traced all these parts and matched it up that it's going to go into there. So as you can see, I knocked the pin down. What I did, let me show you how I did that. I have a handy dandy screwdriver set, and I put the screwdriver piece into here. And I also made sure that it's only on a weird surface. I had to kind of create my own weird surface. You can do it with like a block of wood or something like that, but you don't want it pounding down on the foot. You could break the foot, crack the foot or something. You want it straight on this piece, which, I don't know, is this die cast? Is this whole piece, whole piece might be die cast. Anyway, and I inserted this with a thin piece. I don't even know what they call this tip. And I inserted it into here. and I hammered it down until it came loose. Once you have a little bit of give in there, that's when you're going to come along with these here and give it a nice little pull, and you're going to pull this pin out until you can remove this section. So at this point, you're just going to wiggle it out of there, and as you can see, there's still a bit in there. So before you put the new one in, you're going to want to push down the remainder of it. Now, maybe a little harder. I don't know if you'd be able to quite get the other one in there without pushing this down a bit to make a little bit of space for the new one. Kind of some fixing technique. There, we get it just right. Bit of a challenge. Let's try to put the new one in. Before we put the new one in, I want to take the tire off of the old assembly and put it onto the new assembly. So, does it matter which side goes to which? I don't think so. And we want to gently put this on here, which it doesn't, it's a nice tight fit. It's rubber. I don't think there's a gentle to it, but get it on there all the way around. Now we got to figure out which way is this going to be orientated. And of course you can see it's going to go like that. Any question, you would just look and it matches the other piece. Let's get this piece into place. It should be real easy now. Hopefully, theoretically, nothing's ever as easy as it looks or you think it would be or would like it to be. It's just the way the world works. Looks like it is more or less in place. There it is. So it's in place now, and we need to push this piece back in without it moving out of place. Now this is going to be the challenging part. Start pushing this back in. Looking at it a bit, really you just get it all aligned and you just kind of carefully push it back in. That's what I did. Oh, that's not careful, but it's just going to keep working on pushing it back in. Doing this on camera is just so hard. When camera's rolling, I can't seem to do it. But all I did is just put a little pressure here, and I'm going to keep working it with a little bit of pressure here like this until I get it all the way back into place. Last little bit, you're just going to squeeze it into place. Now again, you want to make sure you're protecting the other side with like a paper towel or something. Now it's all back in place. So this should work fine. Everything's in place. Everything looks to be great. Let's do a partial transformation of this. And everything seems to fit just fine. All right, so here we are. And we're going to slide it back into position. We're going to see that we have a hole for the screw, and get your long half-threaded screw into here. And I guess you have to continue to thread it. And I got to swap my tips. Swap my tip. Remember, don't just lay it down anywhere. Make sure that you protect the paint on this all around. You want to repair your figure and it still look good. Protecting the paint is definitely an issue, especially with the Fanstoys and how good of a job they do with paint and how much paint they're putting on them these days. You just don't want to lose it all. This is a really long screw. I remember unscrewing it. I didn't show the unscrewing process, but the screwing back in process, it's just going to take a while. But at this point, we're so close to done. It feels good. But yes, if you didn't watch me unscrew it, you guys, oh, it took me forever to unscrew it. Well, it takes that long. And as you get a little bit of tension, it's almost there. Reinstalling a Fanstoys squeak. And we're gonna have this guy fixed and good to go. Not good as new, but good enough. A little bit of wear and tear on the inside of there, but I can live with that. Transforming it back. Move this out of the way. Sliding this piece here down into the cavity. Double hinging it back over itself. tabbing it into the tabs. Come on. Why should I do that? Everything's easier before you get back installed. Folding this down, folding the foot down, and having yourself a Fanstoys beach comber that's fixed. Woo! I want to point out that there still is just a tad bit of play in these. Do not play with them too hard. Be careful, that will break. I am very pleased with Fanstoys. I'm excited. I'm happy that Fanstoys sends you the parts that you need. I wished it wasn't so challenging having to knock out a pin. If it was just screws, it would have been easier. That's just kind of the way things are, the way they design them. I mean, you can't have a screw in everything. Screws are a lot thicker than just pins. I understand that, but knowing how to swap the pin, as hard as it is, makes life a little bit better. Anyway, let me know if this helped you. Let me know if this helped you be more careful with your Masterpiece Transformers in the future. And if you had any other issues with this figure, I'd like to know. Like, subscribe. Dunerider'S out.